Welcome back to Part 2 of Module 4. In this part, we will cover the experience of spectators at the World Cup. The World Cup is known for being a very popular sporting event. FIFA claims that the World Cup is the biggest single-event sporting competition in the world. FIFA also claims that the World Cup is the world's most widely viewed sporting event. In the 2010 World Cup, matches were broadcast to 204 countries and were watched in person by over 3 million spectators, which worked out to be an average of almost 50,000 people per match. Around the world, over 6 million people attended public viewing events in 16 sites. It is not an uncommon sight to see people on the street or in bars watching the World Cup on television. In this picture, this is from the JFK Airport in New York, where there's quite a crowd of people looking at the TVs in the bar to watch the World Cup match. Also, just last week, I was flying on Lufthansa airline when Germany was playing a match. And the people in my section, 3 people purchased the online wireless so that they could have the match on their laptops, which the rest of us appreciated because we were looking over their shoulder. And eventually the captain began to make announcements of the score because, again, many people on the flight were really interested in the outcome of the World Cup match. For the 2014 World Cup, there were 11 million ticket requests for the 3.1 million tickets that were available. The tickets did have different prices. In Brazil, the tickets cost $90, but internationally, they cost anywhere from $440 to $990. So they're not cheap. Brazilians bought 1.3 million tickets. And the people from the United States, that was the second highest at 196,000 tickets. There were 450,000 tickets allocated to sponsors. Now, it is true that the number of TV spectators is often overestimated by FIFA, but it is true that many games have record viewer numbers, including in the United States, which sometimes has a reputation for not caring about soccer. In the United States, 18 million people watched each group stage game on average, and that was greater than how many people in the U.S. watched the World Series or even the NBA Finals. Fans' support is often very important to the game, and fans support their teams with chants and noisemakers and flags and wearing colorful costumes. In terms of noisemakers, the Vuvuzela made its loud entry into the game during the 2010 World Cup. So after 2010, however, the Vuvuzela was banned from many international stadiums. It still can be used in African stadiums, but it wasn't allowed to be at the 2014 World Cup. So, but then what were spectators going to use for a noisemaker? So the Brazilian Ministry of Sport pronounced that the cacharola would be the official noisemaker of the 2014 World Cup. The cacharola is a cylinder that's filled with beads, and when you shake it, it makes a sort of hissing or rattling sound. But, and they're kind of small. But in April of 2014, FIFA banned the use of the cacharola because some were thrown at players and onto the pitch during a match between Vitória and Bahia. And so FIFA was concerned that they would become missiles and be used to injure players. And there was also some security concern that people might conceal bombs or explosives inside the noisemaker. Chants are also very popular. In Brazil, there's a song that's often sung in matches called "I'm a Brazilian," with a lot of pride and a lot of love. Now, many people do consider that song to be old-fashioned, And so there's been attempts to create new lyrics for it to the same tune. But the original is still sung often, and it was a song that was written 65 years ago by a Brazilian high school teacher. In contrast, Argentina has a song that they like to sing, particularly when they play Brazil, called Brazil, How Does It Feel? And the verse goes on to imply that Daddy is in the house, meaning that Argentina is the better team, that they are Daddy and they're now in Brazil's house. England has a chant, 2 world wars and 1 World Cup, which sadly in this World Cup didn't help them advance. And the United States mostly actually chants USA, USA, but they did also have a chant, I believe that we will win. So here on the left you'll see the vuvuzelas that were so popular in the 2010 World Cup, and on the right the cacerolas. So players do face a lot of pressure to win out on the pitch from fans. And so we talked about fans can provide a lot of support, cheering on their team, but they can also heckle players with rude, racist, and or homophobic taunts. The most famous case of this recently was that Mexican fans routinely chant the word puto at the opposition's goalkeeper, which roughly translates as male prostitute. Univision Television then issued a statement against the use of this chant, and an organization called GLAAD that supports gay rights launched a Twitter campaign, Stop the Slurs. In response to this pressure about this chant, FIFA opened a disciplinary case against the Mexican Football Federation, since FIFA considers the federations responsible for fan behavior. So the Mexican fans, in response, then changed the word puto to Pepsi, who is not a sponsor of the World Cup. So that didn't make FIFA happy either. When teams don't win, fans can be very angry. There have been cases in the past where teams have had to go into hiding for a while when they lost a big World Cup match. More recently, the South Korean team, who lost in the first round, were pelted with toffee candies in the airport when they arrived home. The insult implied there is that there's an expression in Korean, go eat a toffee, which means to get lost or forget you, but in a much ruder way. And there's a URL there if you want to watch the video of them getting pelted with the candy. In the spirit of fairness, I also want to mention that there is a Women's World Cup. This competition was started in 1991. The US and Germany have won twice, Japan and Norway once. In 2015, it will be held in Canada, and there will be 24 teams. The host cities are Montreal, Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Ottawa, and Moncton. The women will be playing on artificial turf, not on grass as the men are in this World Cup. So what's next? You should watch Amy Falty's videos on managing the pitch, join in the discussions, follow up with our readings and video links, and enjoy the last week of the World Cup, and join us next week when we discuss what happens when a World Cup ends.